Thank you very much for introducing me. And first of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this conference, Professor Marina Kukanata, Frederica, for this wonderful conference. And I would like to say that there is always a huge work behind each event like this. And of course, I would like also to thank our Portuguese colleagues because if to be honest, I was inspired by the presentation that Ines made in Arhangelsk during our conference in March. And as you see, the title of my presentation is The Key Issues of Understanding Culture for Education to Tolerance. And as our Portuguese colleagues said, it's very important to define the main concepts when we talk about multiculturalism, intercultural education.
It's a problem with the microphone. I don't think they can hear you. If you have to speak louder.
Okay. So, why the concept of culture is linked to intercultural education. So what is intercultural education? It is an educational approach that aims to develop sensitivity and tolerance to diversity at different levels, such as those related to ethnicity, nationality, culture, and here we should always include gender, age, capacities, life, options, etc. And as you see, this understanding of multicultural education leads us to so-called concept of intersectionality, which means that every individual is not a representative of only cultural group, but at the same time a representative of age group, representative of gender, etc. In our conception of intercultural education, we should consider people as not only representatives of their cultural groups, but also representatives of other groups inside the groups. And in my presentation, I would like to show how different understandings of culture form our view on diversity and why it is important for the concept of intercultural education, how culture can provoke understanding of diversity at different levels. First of all, I would like to introduce you into Russian tradition of ethnocultural studies and briefly explain the place of this concept in our tradition. And according to one of leading Russian anthropologists, cultural anthropologist, Valery Tishkov, we can distinguish two main traditions of ethnocultural studies, American and European. And as you see, Russian tradition was formed mainly inside European tradition, which is focused on the concept of ethno. And as another researcher of ethnocultural studies, say Will Kimlicka, American or Canadian researcher, he says that today the concept of culture becomes an umbrella terms and it includes such concepts as ethnicity, nation identity, ethno, and others. But in Russian tradition, we still speak about ethnic groups. And we define ethnic group as a group of people united by common features such as common ancestors, historical experience, language, culture, and area of living. And as you see, culture here is, in Russian tradition, is understood as very important marker of ethnic identity. So next question is, what is culture? And in a broad sense, we can distinguish two main approaches to understanding of culture. The first one is so-called essentialism, and the second one is social constructivism. And essentialism is the most widespread conception of culture. It understands culture as something equivalent to a natural phenomenon. Culture is defined as a set of specific social practices, roles, norms, and values inherent to a particular group of people living in a territory of their origin and having common language, history, and social institutions. And actually, this understanding of culture was put into the basis of modern theories of multiculturalism, liberal multiculturalism, that was developed by Charles Taylor and Will Kimlicka, and this notion of culture is the basis of modern politics of multiculturalism as politics of group rights, which are realized in, which are implemented in Canada and Australia since 80s, 90s, and which was the, let's say, intellectual, product that was also tried to be realized in Europe. And when we consider culture as a marker of our ethnic identity, everything seems to be logical that every one of us has his own cultural identity. But the problem with essentialism is that it's based on so-called isomorphism between social group, culture, territory, and language. It means that culture, social group, territory, and we can add here language as well, and other parts of our social life, they are regarded as reflections of each other. So it's very natural within essentialist approach to regard social group or cultural group as a group belonging to a special culture, which is which exists on a special territory, and these people speak their own language. For example, from this point of view, in Russia live Russians. They speak Russian language, and they have all other characteristics that belong to Russians. And from the point of view of criticists of this essential approach to understanding of culture, this view on the culture is very simplistic, and it regards almost the same as you see the world map. Yes, it's very simplistic, and this is the view on the culture of outsider. Its aim is to simplify and make a classification of cultures. The problems with essentialism are the following. For example, it doesn't explain how cultural changes occur. How to explain difference within cultural groups, for example, when representatives of the same culture do not agree about what practices we should preserve and what practices we should transform. Especially it concerns practices when gender issues are involved. It also do not answer the question: what culture do people living on the border between territories belong to, or what are hybrid cultures? On the level of political practice, we have also a lot of problems. For example, when it concerns implementation of politics of multiculturalism toward indigenous people of the North, we can't answer the question, should the group rights be granted only to those cultural groups who live in the territories of their origin, or we can also grant them to those who want to leave their communities, especially, for example, when it concerns young people who want to leave their traditional communities and go to study to bigger cities and stay there and have family there, etc. So another approach, so-called social constructivist approach, it gives us another view on the culture and gives solutions of those problems. And within this approach, culture is understood as intersubjectively shared universe of narratives, defined and over time redefined through words and action of people who produce them. And this definition belongs to American political philosopher Shelley Ben Habib. And this approach gives us understanding of culture as a network which is produced during our communication. So culture is presented as a dynamic process, and here you can see the names of those philosophers who support this approach. And social constructivism explains why culture changed, because this is the process of communication where when we defined our meanings of what practices are, what values, what norms are. It also helps us to explain why hybrid cultures occur and what it is. And it explains why representatives of the same cultural group can have different points of view on the same practices as well. And it also helps us to overcome discrimination within cultural groups when we have the conflict between different people on what practices we should preserve and which one we should choose. So this is just probably I hope that this presentation will inspire you for some thoughts and some thought that we should implement in our conception of intercultural education. So thank you very much for your attention.
Now, Tatiana, is up to you.
F5 сейчас. F5 или F6? Ага. Ага, и стаканчик на свободу. Спасибо. So, you will not tell. So I'll begin.
Yeah.
Okay. Dear conference participants, the title of my presentation is Promoting Tolerance in the Republic of Tatarstan. And as Professor Kokonata said, it is a collective work from the team of our institute, because actually all our institute is involved in the fulfillment of this project. And our institute is situated in Tatarstan, in Kazan. And you know, Tatarstan is one of the largest social, economic, scientific, and political centers of the Volga region. And it is a multicultural, interethnic region with more than 100 nationalities living here. But before I will tell about the activities and how we reach the peaceful coexistence of all the nationalities and ethnic groups, I'd like to say some words about our institute, our research institute. And of course, it is mainly maybe for our European colleagues and students, because among the Russian universities and research centers, our institute is well known because it's just situated in Kazan, but it is it belongs to the All-Russian Academy of Education. Formerly, it was called the USSR Academy of Pedagogical Sciences. And the institute was founded actually about 30 years ago. The first director, organizer was academician Makhmutov. Then for 20 years, the institute was headed by the academician Guzel Muhamedyanova. And now the director of the institute is Farida Muhamedyanova, a corresponding member of the Russian Academy of Education. And she wanted very much to come to the Bologna University to participate in our conference, but unfortunately she was not able to do so. But, I'd like to say some words about the human resources of the institute, for you just to show that we have power, we have intellectual potential to fulfill the tasks and the aims of our project. Besides the researchers and several departments, we have also big graduate and postgraduate school. And there's postgraduate students from all the country also participate in our project. And of course, we are sure that we will use them at the stage of dissemination of the project results. We have a big library. Of course, it cannot be compared with the library of the Bologna University, but for a research institute, it is also just quite enough. And since 1993, on the base of our research institute, we opened the Academy of Social Education that now makes with our institute a research educational complex. And it was quite natural that the center, ALLMEET Center, was opened on the base of the Academy of Social Education. Actually, every researcher of our institute teach classes at this Academy of Social Education. And nowadays, this research educational complex is more than 9,000 students, 3 faculties, 12 joint departments. It means that, and it helps our institute to do our research more practically oriented, and so everything that is created in our research institute just immediately implemented in the Academy of Social Education. And we have a journal, Kazan Pedagogical Periodical. So this is Kazan Pedagogical Journal, and having the chance to talk to you, so I invite European colleagues as well as Russian colleagues to send your articles to our journal, and I promise that they immediately will be published. So, and now coming back to the governmental policy concerning the multicultural education and tolerance formation in our republic, I should say that the present stage of the development of Tatarstan and its capital Kazan can be defined as a strong, effective, polyethnic state which functions as a unique model of inter-ethnical and public accord as evidenced by the forming all-Russian and Tatarstan civil identity within the polyethnic civil community. So in many publications, Kazan is even called a capital of tolerance of Russia. And just several examples. During only the last 3 years, so we accepted the World Students' Universiada, 3 World Cups, the European Field Hockey Championship, the European Volleyball Championship, and many other competitions. And just only yesterday in Kazan, we celebrated, and really it was a celebration with salute and balloons, 100 days before the Water Polo World Championship that will be in Kazan in July. And of course, it became possible because that Tatarstan adopted a national program for the preservation development of languages of Tatarstan people. Actually, we have 2 state languages, Russian and Tatar, and all school children, beginning with the kindergarten, all children learn 2 languages. And then multiculturalism in Tatarstan, you know, there are also some examples. Now, I want to say that in Tatarstan operates more than 132 national and cultural centers. Many folk festivals are held in Tatarstan, like Tatar Festival, Sabantui, Turkish Navruz, Russian Karavan, and some other, many other festivals. Our institute is a research institute, does research on multiculturalism and tolerance formation. And only during the last 5 years, more than 20 candidate and doctor dissertations were developed and defended in our institute. And the results of these research dissertations are not just left within our institute. We distribute the results among the schools, universities, colleges, and all these results are demanded by other researchers, by faculties, and some, well, other who are interested in all these issues. We must say that Tatarstan now is home to 132 national cultural centers, commercial non-profit volunteer organizations. We have a very interesting house, a house of friendship of Tatarstan people, and well, we are proud that our members of our consortium had a chance to visit it during the kickoff meeting. We have more than 34 Sunday schools, and we have also a national program for kindergarten where it's possible for children at the from the early age to visit this kindergarten and speak their native language. So we try to preserve all native languages. And it is also a symbol of tolerance and, of course, culturalism. In our work, in our practice, we use a cultural, axiological system approach, ethnopedagogical approach, and as I said, we do a lot of research on these problems, and of course we publish all our results in journals and our monographies and other things. So as for our project, we actually try to do everything what it is necessary to do, and try to be among the first who do all the necessary activities. And we may say that we have already created this center on the base of the Academy of Social Education. We tried some programs and pilot courses, and the first results show that all these programs actually are successful. And so it gives us hope that the project tasks will be achieved and created. So thank you for your attention.
And now from Tatarstan to Siberia.
Dear colleagues, it is a great pleasure to be here. It is the first time for Siberian team from our university in Bologna, and thank you very much, Marina, for this opportunity for our team. I am glad to present to you the work carried out within a TEMPUS ALLMEET project by the team of Siberian Federal University. Our research is devoted to Krasnoyarsk region as a polycultural territory. And because not everybody have marvelous chance to visit our Krasnoyarsk region and our mother city Krasnoyarsk, I tell some words about our region. Krasnoyarsk region is the second largest territory of Russia and occupies territory more than 2 million square kilometers. 14% of Russia belong to our region. About 3 million people live there. About 77% of population live in a city, and about 23% of rural population. 159 nationalities and ethnic groups live in Krasnoyarsk region. And last years, about 170,000 foreign migrants come to Krasnoyarsk every year. There are 293 religious organizations and 40 official religions. Among them, Russian Orthodox Church, Islam, Buddhism, Old Believers, Judaism, and so on. Some words about our university. Siberian Federal University in Krasnoyarsk is the leading university in Siberia. 43,000 students study there. SIP4 of 151 bachelor programs, 120 master programs, 116 postgraduate programs. 19 institutes. Our university has 19 institutes, among them some technical institute and some humanitarian institute, and of course our Institute of Education, Psychology and Sociology. Our institute has become the ground for intercultural educational platform worked out with ALLMEET TEMPUS project. And platform of Krasnoyarsk region is worked out by psychology, sociology, education and IT specialists together with people who policymakers. With a website which presents information, video and educational resources for different target groups. SIPFU team carry out research activity. The website contains results of research work, program courses, and students' work in open access. And it's a huge database, and also we are very proud that we collect a lot of cases, video cases about different situations with creating tolerance and so on. This slide, some of the results of our research are presented. We study the attitude of people living in Krasnoyarsk region towards representatives of other nations. Up to 80% of respondents indicate that they don't have negative feelings towards any ethnic groups. About 47% of citizens reported that they don't have negative feelings towards any ethnic group, but they dislike some representatives of these groups. And up to 20% indicate that there is a nationality to which they have negative feelings. There is the difference in opinions between Krasnoyarsk residents and people living in other cities of Krasnoyarsk region. Please see the diagrams on the slide. A big agglomeration has a more dense population. There are more active people and the social differentiation is bigger. In this environment, the social contradiction, sympathy, dislike disseminate quickly. That's why we think most effort on developing tolerance should be aimed at the people living in a big city. The most common sources of information about national issues for the people living in city are mass media, television and the internet. The second place take family, schools and neighbors. Please see the diagrams. According to the results of our research, mass media present mostly negative information about inter-ethnic relations, with about 41% and 46% accordingly broadcast on TV and in the internet. Schools and family offer mostly positive information about inter-ethnic relations, between 34 and 24%. This slide is devoted to the next question. We asked people about religions. Most people living in Krasnoyarsk region state they believe in God, with 76% of respondents. Please see the table. Most widely spread religion in our region is Russian Orthodox Church, 83% of the respondents, and its connection with some results which Oleg demonstrate us today morning. No less than 7% said they belong to Islam tradition. There are also people of other religions, but the amount of those is not big. It should be mentioned that the level of religious observance in Krasnoyarsk region is not high. People don't go to church regularly and don't often communicate with priests, read religious literature and follow religious rituals. We may conclude that people's identification of themselves as Orthodox is mostly cultural than religious identification. Orthodoxy is understood as a part of Russian culture, and people in our region associate themselves with Russian culture. Very briefly, The authorities of Krasnoyarsk region pay attention to inter-ethnic communication. There is one of the program with presented on this slide, and the main objective of this program are presented also on this slide. Among the body's influences inter-ethnic policy in the region, there is the Civil Assembly of Krasnoyarsk region, founded 2007, maybe it's not important. It is significant civil society institution. The Chamber of Nationality and Chamber of Indigenous People of the north or part of the Civil Assembly of Krasnoyarsk region. The assembly supports celebration, national holidays in Krasnoyarsk region. I will finish very soon. Around 60 national holidays are celebrated in Krasnoyarsk region every year. In for different ethnic groups, they participate all citizens of a lot of citizens, other ethnic groups of our region. There are such traditional national holidays as Belarusia, Kolyady and Dazhinki, Hakaz, Chilipazy, Yakutsk, Dolgan, Hera and Davos. Some of them present here. At Siberian Federal University, pay a lot of attention given to development, tolerance, and adaptation of migrants, especially migrant students who's coming to Siberia. Students study such courses which mentioned here. We publish in different researches and different educational materials. This academic year, the students of our institute held more than 10 different events aimed at development tolerance and studied the people living in the territory of Krasnoyarsk region. This survey activity with the pupils from Krasnoyarsk schools, more than 3,000 children took part in the activities which provide our students. Our university, multicultural university, and we organized not only some special courses for students, but we also organize a lot of different multicultural events, and this slide demonstrates some of them. Conclusion. A multinational region as our region with 159 different nationalities always needs development comfortable environment for all the nationalities. Though the present situation with inter-ethnic and inter-religious relation in the region may be characterized as a stable and positive, but there are some risks. Second, the authorities of Krasnoyarsk region, civil society and educational institute are involved in prevent risk of influence conflict. It makes living in Krasnoyarsk region safe and comfortable. There is no registered inter-ethnic conflicts putting into dangerous social stability in the region, and we are very proud of this. Every year, Krasnoyarsk holds conference devoted to development tolerance within lifelong learning, among them some conference which you could see on this slide. And at least thank you for your attention. Welcome to Siberia, the most coldest part of Russia, where people with warm heart live. Thank you.
And now we go on with our Russian trip, and now it's time to visit Mariel Republic, and Natalia Piryukova is invited to speak. And Larissa also, Letsnina.
Marina, may I ask you just to sit here? Here. Thank you very much. Hello everybody again. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present to you the results of our research we've made in Marie State University with the team of Professor Head. Our head is Professor Morova, Natalia Biryukova, Larisa Lizhnina, and Svetlana Dobracheva. The title of our research is Promotion of Cultural Diversity and Tolerance in a Multi-Ethnic Region, Case Study of Mariel Republic.
Good afternoon. Within the program and task of the TEMPUS project ALLMEET, the special research has been done by the team of Marie State University. The subject of the research is diversity and tolerance of civil society of the Republic of Mariel as one of the multi-ethnic region in Russia. The Mariel Republic is a national republic within the Russian Federation in the Volga federal districts. It is situated in the eastern part in the middle Volga region and borders in the north the Kirov region, in the south the Republic of Tatarstan and Chuvash Republic, in the west the Nizhny Novgorod region. Such geographical position of the republic has determinant in ethnic and cultural diversity. Let's examine the heterogeneity and the complexity of the cultural diversity and tolerance in Mariel. The first point is ethnic diversity. The total population of the Republic is 690,000 people. Among them, 65% refer to urban population, 35% to rural population. As you see on the slide, there are two big ethnic groups in our republic. The title nationality of the republic, the Mari, is divided into three sub-ethnic groups: the mountain, the middle, and the eastern Mari, with some different languages. The second point, language diversity. The state languages of the Mariel Republic are Mari, mountain and middle, and Russian. The official status is supported by the Constitution of Mariel Republic. The law on languages in the Mariel Republic declares the equality of languages and linguistic rights of citizens of each group uses its literature norm. The dominant spoken language is Russian. According to the results of the last census, all residents of the Republic know it sufficiently to communicate. The Russian language dominates always everywhere, but a number of newspaper, magazines, and television and radio programs are in the Mari languages. Religion diversity. The Mariel Republic refers to multi-religion territories of Russia where different confessions exist and interact for many centuries, such as Orthodoxy, paganism, Islam, and others. The Orthodoxy has been and remains the main religion of the Republic. The majority of the Russian population and a large part of the Mari ethnic group confess it. The small number of Mari confess the Mari pagan religions. However, the paganism is widely spread in the dual faith confessional group, which amount up to a quarter of the Mari population. The history of the Mari traditional religion began in the ancient times. Nature worship, sun, water, and wind, and the veneration to plants, animals, birds, take a central part in Mari religion.
The data of religion diversity you can see on the slide. There were the basic characteristics of the Republic as a multicultural region. Our next step was to analyze the state of the art of intercultural and interethnic relations. Natalia will present our results and conclusions.
Very shortly. I know that we are very short of time, but it was research, and I will try to do it as fast as I can. So speaking about the interethnic relations in our republic, we've made the special questionnaire for the citizens, and the results you can see on the screen. The nationality doesn't matter in the field of communication, choosing friends, working together, and choosing a marriage partner. The last factor could be determined as an important indicator of interethnic peace in the Republic. So the percentage of intermarriages within the total number of marriage amounts about 30%. That indicates a high level of tolerance and a close cultural level of various ethnic groups living in the Republic. In 2014, our team has conducted 2 studies, a questionnaire survey of 200 students of Murray State University and interviews of 20 experts. According to the results, you can see them on the screen, and it shows rather positive attitude of all the students to the ethnic situation in the Republic. And 90 of them believe that the inter-ethnic situation in the Republic is generally stable. Speaking about the experts, the results, they respond the equal social and economic situation in the Republic as stable. The majority deny the existence of xenophobic attitudes toward migrants and ethnic groups. They call the traditional national holidays like Peledish Bayram, Sabantu, Russian Birch, and the Days of National Culture as successful initiatives and activities aimed at inter-ethnic, interconfessional consent. And the majority, more than 80%, deny the connection of ethnic and religious factors with criminality. They stress that criminality has no face, all the crimes have no nations, they are all committed by individuals. We can indicate several factors of preservation and development of tolerance in the diverse society. First of all is the state regional policy. The Mariel Republic is one of the first regions in Russia which adopted the target-oriented approach in the state national policy. We have the Special Government Commission on that issues. In 2012, our local Mariel government approved a new program, State National Policy of the Mariel Republic. And the functions of monitoring and regulation of this program are assigned on the Ministry of Culture, Press, and Ethnic Affairs. The main strategy of intercultural education, the next please, is teaching people in different nationalities in one and the same group. And it provides direct communication and interethnic interpenetration between cultures. And here are some the next please. The context of intercultural education which is spread in our republic, you can see on the screen. And there is 2 main things, like, no, I'm finishing. The number of pupils and students enrolled in the education in native language in recent years remains stable. The choice of the language is determined only by demand of the pupils and their parents. And now, and I think it is very important to stress, all pupils of the Republic in the secondary school study the Mari language as obligatory subject, 1 or 2 hours per week. There is one more subject for them, history and culture of Marielle. And in 2012, the new subject was presented as an obligatory subject in the school's Fundamentals of Religious Cultures and Secular Ethics. The center of implementation of these programs is the Mari State University, which we represent. This is the first classical university of the Republic. And here we see the case studies made under the Tempus program, training Russian language, then the week summer school of Mari language and cultures, the professional development programs in the field of interethnic relations, and University of the Third Age for the seniors. And making the conclusion, I would like to summarize then we should stress that the results of the research indicate the problem-free interethnic and interconfessional situation in the Republic of Marielle. And the last decades are characterized by interethnic consent and tolerant relations among the representatives of different nationalities and faiths. There are some problems, of course, and one of them is the teaching staff to working with the migrants, and that will be the goal of our intercultural educational platform, which we are working at within the Tempus project ALLMEET. And the final 1 minute, I would like you to I would like you to introduce the students who participated in our survey. These are the students. This is the emblem of Mari State University. It is situated in the city Yoshkar-Ola, the capital of Marielle Republic. Looks like a little bit Italian, I think. These are the students who are going to the survey to participate. This is the main building of Mari State University. And I think it is, we welcome you to visit. This is our republic, to visit you, to visit us in September when we have the Tempus meeting. It is primary, this is the Yoshkar-Ola in winter, in summer. The girl is coming for the survey, I'm sure. And the city of Yoshkar-Ola. Here are the students of different nationalities. These are Mari. Yes, they are playing gusli, the traditional Mari instrument, dancing, Mari dances. This is the holiday Peledish Pairem, it is called. These are Russian, dancing something in Russia. Mari students singing. Russian holiday, Russian birch, it is called. And here are some students in the traditional Mari students in their traditional costumes and dancing. This is the Tatar culture, represent Tatar culture, and this is the mix of all of them together. Yes, these are our students. They welcome you to Yoshkar-Ola in September. Thank you. Thank you.
And now, the last presentation of this first section.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, first of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee, the University of Bologna, and dear ALLMEET coordinators for holding this event, and especially also would like to thank those presenters who have been previously, because it was very interesting presentations, and for us, especially Anna Bevan and Claudia Barghetti for presenting the the experience of intercultural education resources for Erasmus students. In my presentation, allow me to introduce to you some reflections on academic migrants integration focused on Russian and Norwegian experience. But we mostly will speak not about the exchange students, but mostly students who are coming from different parts of the world for obtaining a full university degree. Before starting the presentation, I would like to highlight some basic concepts which will be used further. As we're speaking about the tolerance today, we would like to go to the primary sources, to the Declaration of Principle of Tolerance, which was solemnly adopted by UNESCO in 1995. And especially not about the first, that tolerance is respect, acceptance, and appreciation of the rich diversity of world's culture and harmony in different. But moreover, that tolerance is not concession or indulgence, and it also means that one's views are not to be imposed on the others. So stating on this, we are considering in our presentation the academic migrants integration as integration of international students who are coming for obtaining university. And it seems for us, from Russian perspective, as a highly essential part of developing the polycultural education. And this process, of course, could be seen from different approaches and different perspectives, from the pedagogical, psychological research approaches, intercultural communications, and different features of educational process could be seen as especially creating the multicultural friendly environment. And the topic of this research has been done in Russia, and especially in those countries who has faced these questions not in theory but in practice. So we could go to the Dark, Bacher, Magraf, Tortensen, and many other researchers. But as we are going through, the adaptation process is quite complicated and going on different levels. And there are different stages of adaptation, and it depends of what kind of research approaches we are standing on to we'll speak about further. According to Rudkova, there is 3 stages of international students adaptation: autonomy, identification, and integration. And she believes that it's mostly mind and intellect which is having the leading factor of active adaptation of international students. Most of the researchers and the W model of adaptation is also kind of very well known, and especially those students who have, for example, had the Erasmus experience, have known those 5 stages as a honeymoon, culture shock, recovery, adaptation, and reverse culture shock, when you come back to your home, to your culture, but you have changed a lot, but your own culture hasn't changed that a lot. So that also gives us a very important understanding. But in our presentation, we would like to speak more about the exological approaches, which seems to be a both-sided process. And we are speaking mostly about the values and of the culture and of the student, and about these 3 stages as autonomy, assimilation, and integration. And we see and we do believe that it is mostly concerning socio-cultural dissonance between the values of the student's culture and the hosting culture that could cause the difficulties and stress during the adaptation period. But we do believe that the integration is the final step of adaptation, or the result. And what is the most important, especially during the integration period, the student should feel the psychological comfort for their main aim for achieving academic goals, if they're coming mostly for that. And of course, achieving this psychological comfort isn't the easy thing because first of all, it's like a dissonance of the cultures and values meaning in new social cultural environment. And of course, the university should adapt and insist in this quite difficult process. And it depends on the personality, but this process could come up to even 3 years. And we could define several factors which greatly influence. It's psychological and internal, which is mostly concerning the personality, its values, motives, emotional levels, and mental set to interact and have an activity in a new environment. And of course, external socio-pedagogical factors, which is the university could greatly assist and helps. So to create a multicultural friendly environment and create different kind of activities to help students to integrate to the hosting culture. And later on, we would like to, as today we were speaking about the Russian and European experience, we would like to compare those two systems. But of course, Europe, as Russia, also quite diverse, and that's why we were choosing 2 universities and 2 countries, Russia, not part of Russia and Norway, because we have quite common conditions, I mean climate one, quite close historical connections and partnership during the last 20 years. So it makes the universities more comparable. And speaking about the universities of Budo universities and the University of Northern Arctic federal universities, we would like to point several details. As I'm quite limited in time, I'm going deeper to the conclusions and what have been discovered during the analysis. Northern University of Nordland, located in Budo, has had the experience of teaching international students for quite a long time. But it hasn't been a dramatic rise of international students, and they were mostly from Russia, from Southeast Asia, and some Erasmus students who are coming to Norway. As speaking about our universities, the international students are started to come just several years, and we do experience, as you could see on the slide, quite dramatic rise of the international students. That's why we do understand the adaptation and integration of the international students is very essential for their social adaptation and for the cultures. As we're going through, we could say that in both universities, we do the system of adaptations, or anyhow we could say that there is activities and university environment which is aimed at international students' integration. Could this be considered as an effective system of adaptation? Yes, in some sense, and it's better to say the university is aimed to create that kind of activity. We could also say that such regional and federal universities as NARFU has come and used the experience which has been during the Soviet time, where the international students mostly studied in the Moscow State University, Patrice Lumumba University, also in Moscow, and St. Petersburg. And they do have a very good system of working with the international students. And as well as we are quite open for the new experience, we also adapt some best European practices, and that's why we are also quite eager and happy to be here, because we do believe that we could find very nice Italian practices to adapt in our environment as well. Speaking about the involvement, in Norwegian case, it's mostly student level and volunteer level who are involved. It's a body system, it's International Student Union. Speaking about the NARFU case, it's also the students and student tutors, but international office has had a quite big part of the work. And as it's mostly in Russia, we do try to use the personal approach to the student to international students. When there is several students, it works perfect. But when you do have a quite a big number of international students, you should come to a question: how should I work for having such a good results and help and assist student to feel psychologically comfortable? That's why. That's why we also come to the NGO assistance, especially for different trainings for Russian and international students. Speaking about frequent and systematic work, we should say, for example, the Norwegian University has a very good idea which would like to also to implement. It's like international coffee hour, when every Thursday international students come in for a cup of coffee, and it's a good possibility for the international office to monitor the situation, to help, to assist, and we're also planning to implement it. And of course, speaking about the availability of resources, speaking about the sport or cultural events, in Norway and in Russia it's also possible. And in Russia, for example, it's mostly for free or for more affordable prices. And it's also very important, as a sport is kind of the key to integration as well. And speaking about the monitoring of students' integration, during the research, we do understand that, for example, on this stage of the research, we could analyze like the external factors that influence students' integrations, mostly the university environment and the activities the university is having for assistant students. But of course, we should go deeper to understand and to monitor the psychological feeling of the students. And for that purpose, we are thinking about the interviews and the questionnaires on the regular basis to help our dear international students who are coming from our university from 45 countries, and they do have different cultures, to feel them in Russia as in their home. So thank you very much for your attention.
So we had a lot of suggestion about different Russian realities and perhaps the fear of our social research are not so grounded. Then it seems that the situation is better than predicted. And I think that this is very good, because that our Russian friends have the possibility to implement and develop their research in this field, monitoring the state of interethnic and interreligious relationship before that the situation come to conflict. Now, for our international and Italian public, the suggestion were new, and so perhaps you have some question to make to our speaker. So I invite people who have questions to speak about Federico. If you want to take the microphone, if someone has a question. Tatiana, Olga, and the other speaker. So,
some question?
Okay, if you agree, we can postpone the question to the last section. Now, wait a moment. Some some information. Now we can have 5 minutes relax, because we have time, and outside you will find some more coffees and cakes. If you want, if you need something sweet, and then the participants to panel 1, the impact of language in intercultural dynamics, are invited to go in the meeting room where we had lunch, and they will meet there. Glielo già stavo dicendo. And the panel 2 will remain here. For the 2 panel, we should be finished. It would be good if we should be finished at 17:40, because then we meet here again in plenum, and we can have some discussion about the topic of the morning. Okay?